Peace and greetings, everyone. My name is Makosi Gogo Ganyezi, and I'm here with the lovely Charmaine Headley, one of the alumni in our first cohort that has just graduated from African Mystery School Rites of Passage program. She's here with us today to share a little bit about her experience and time in African Mystery School, and we thank you so much for joining us. You are one of our students who really came forward and really took advantage of what was being provided, and you can see the glow coming through on you right now.
Thank
So
you.
please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and we'll go ahead and get into the interview.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak about my experience. As Makosi Teo says, I am Charmaine Headley. I am in Canada, in Toronto. I am a IFA practitioner, which is from Nigeria. My IFA name is Ifayomi Abiola. Um, I am a dancer, a trained dancer, so I don't perform anymore. Um, Age, um, injuries, surgeries, all of those things. But is nothing that I would change at this point. I teach a lot, and I use my art these days. I use my art as healing in terms of through dealing with mental wellness, you know, getting people to be tapped into themselves emotionally, and finding their voices. Um, I do some advocacy work, and it is all around creating space for us people of color, people of African descent. So that,
Marcos.
that's it in a nutshell.
That's a little bit. So basically what she's saying is she's a powerhouse, okay? And we're lucky to have her. That's what that is, aka powerhouse.
Mm.
So with all that you are and doing in the world, I want you to think back to what you were doing uh, this time last year, because this was around the time that I started the process and putting African Mystery School out into the world. So
Mm.
if you can think back to that time, what led you to join African Mystery School?
Mm.
What called you to join, and why'd you answer?
Mm. The short answer is my ancestors led me to African Mystery School. It was at that time last year. It was a bittersweet time for me. It was the end of a relationship, and a first relationship after a lengthy time having separated from my husband, my ex. So it was me opening up myself to a relationship, and then going through that journey, and it ending quite abruptly, quite suddenly. Um, but it was a relationship that opened my eyes more, because I believe every experience that we have and every journey that we have, we learn. It's some teaching tool that we're given. Um, and during that time in September, it was fairly raw, and the person at the time said, because I was actually going through Facebook, and it popped up, like
Hmm.
literally popped up on my screen, and I said, okay, and I said, wow, I would really like to do this. So I put it away, and then my then partner said, if you want to do it, I'll pay for it. And then he, whatever it is that he was going through, so he needed his space, and I said, okay. Uh, and I said, wow, I'm not sure because finances, that was the height of COVID. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm self-employed, so as a self-employed person, I'm trying to see how I can balance and juggle things financially and still be able to, because also there's the conversion of our
Yeah.
dollar to the US dollar as well, which is added um, funds from my end. And I contacted you. I said, I don't think I don't. I would love to, but I don't think I can now because we just split, and he had said that he was going to fund this, and you said, well, there's some person that gifted um, to whomever I guess is they need a bursary or something like that, and we've never met. I don't. Never met like visually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but you said, "Let's talk to your ancestors, see what they say." So I went and I use because normally in IFA we have our opele that we divine with, but I don't do that only because I don't have a baba here. So
Mm-hmm.
I just use my cowries. I use my cowries, so they're very basic, yes, no, and so it doesn't send me down a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And the yes came up clearly,
Mm.
very clear. So I said, okay, well, ancestors will provide.
My cause.
Yeah. So the ancestors is who brought me to African Mystery School.
My cause.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. One of the lovely participants who's now also an alumni who graduated, they also when we first started, they reached out to me and said that their spirit was being directed to give this, for somebody who might need that to carry them over to be able to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they didn't want to be named. It was just something that their spirit said that they needed to do
Mm-hmm.
and to utilize that money for that purpose
Mm-hmm.
if ever someone needed it. And you honestly were the only one who really came forward that needed it throughout that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was really saying that you wanted to still continue. There were many that came and went, but you were one that was saying that regardless of where I'm at right now, I still want to continue. I just need that extra push. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of your sisters, one of your sisters gave, and I'm glad that that was the necessary push because you never had any issues after that. So
Oh, no.
not even one. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful
Yeah.
that happened,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to see community show up like that for one another was really really powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it was able to be given to you because you also were and are a powerful presence in our community, so it all served the greater good in that way.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the community and just some of the greatness that is African Mystery School and a part of African Mystery School, um, be it the instructors or just our community and different private offerings that we have within the group. What are some of your most favorite memories and experiences that you had while you were in the 11-month process with us,
Mm-hmm.
without giving away too much of the mystery? If you could
Mm-hmm.
share some of that with us.
But you it was just a very great segue because you spoke just now at the end about the community, and the person who was willing to give to the community, and that word, the community, it was the biggest gift that I received through African Mystery Schools, because as a traditional um, spiritual African practitioner, and it doesn't matter whether it's Nigeria or South Africa, or it doesn't matter, but it's a traditional practice, spiritual practice that we don't have, and we don't have here in
Mhm.
Toronto. We do not have that community. And I found the bi-weekly, sometimes 3 times a week, um, being able to be in touch. And sometimes it isn't that I have to be speaking all the time, but there are times where I learn so much and
Mm.
am fed from other people's experiences, and what they're sharing. Um, and you don't realize how much you need that nurturing and nourishment. And that was the biggest for me. There are huge lessons from different teachers, but having a community, because even as we go through each each with each teacher, if you didn't have that community to bounce things off of, it is almost that you're still at home. I'm still in Canada, and you have these silos as opposed to us coming together. You know,
Mm.
to me it was extremely nourishing, and also I learned about there were 4 or 5 other people from Canada, from Toronto.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Outside of Makosi Nicole,
Mhm.
um, there were one, two, yeah, four other
Yeah.
participants. So
Mhm.
that even that is good to know that um, whether they are initiates or not, there is that the possibility of growth, and the interest in traditional practices, because otherwise, like I feel and had felt before, where like I was, and I've said this once, I was initiated. I had this vision that I was in the middle of the sea. I was
Mm.
dropped in the middle of the ocean, and I looked around, and there was just water all around me. And all
Mm.
I said is, wow, at least I can swim. That's what I said to myself. At least I can swim. Because
Mm.
and now as I'm speaking to you, I didn't even think of like which ocean or whatever it is, but just came to me in terms of the ancestors and the support under the water as
Mm.
we're speaking. But before it was like, I'm just out here by myself. What's happening?
Mm.
But that's why I said the community, the gathering of us together on a weekly basis was food for the soul.
My cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody has shared definitely that the Ubuntu village, that the community, our private Facebook community was key
Yeah.
in their success, and really anchored and supported them
Mm-hmm.
throughout the journey. And
Mm-hmm.
community witnessing is so important, like you said, even if it's not your share, there's still so much that you can get from just witnessing someone in their process, right?
Correct.
So many nuggets that you can take away from that. And it's also good, even for me, hearing other people's stories, because it does affirm to you that you're not alone, because other people have gone through similar experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just opens up a new perspective on some of the things that you experience in your own life and how you can navigate through that. So yeah, I definitely
Mm-hmm. It
definitely agree.
fortifies it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It fortifies.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
definitely does.
Yeah. But one thing I would say, which I have and which I've shared at the end of our session, was one thing that stayed with me, and that was now I don't pronounce her name properly. Makosi
If Sifa, yes.
Hefefa, when she said to be willing to put yourself in a place of dissonance.
Mm,
Because remember, I don't know if you remember when I shared where um, before I wouldn't tell people that I was
mm,
a Yoruba initiate, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because my and maybe it's an assumption. Most people are Christians, and then it can go far left, or we can have a conversation depending on who you are. So I just went along. But in terms of creating space, because if I think of the work that I do and have been doing through dance, and it was all about us people of African descent through dance wanting our voice heard, why
mm,
is it then that I'm hiding the other
mm,
aspect of me?
mm.
So yeah, willing to step into that place where I'm uncomfortable, but showing that it's me. So
Yeah,
I tell people that I am a practitioner, you know.
Marcos. And
Yes.
that's powerful in ancestral healing in and of itself, because so many of our ancestors weren't able to freely
Right.
share who and what they were. They had to do it in hiding. So
Mm-hmm.
just that act alone in
Mm-hmm.
being courageous and brave and saying, this is who I am, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I believe in,
Mm-hmm.
is healing to those that weren't able to. So
Mm-hmm.
so Ashe, Makos to you
Yeah.
and your
That,
people for moving you forward in that way.
yeah. Share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of that courage and bravery that you have gained and how you're showing up now through some of the teaching and wisdom shared through African Mystery School and the instructors, and or be it the students themselves who
Mm-hmm.
were sharing,
Mm-hmm.
after having gone from that experience and thinking about who Charmaine was prior,
Mm-hmm.
a year ago at this point,
Mm-hmm.
who are you now, having completed this 11-month rites of passage process?
Um, I would
I
say
can see a physical change, but just like the
yeah,
internal change.
yeah. It's interesting. Charmaine or Ifayomi is, and I'm not saying this out of ego. There's
Mm,
so many layers of complexities, but I step into space. I listen a lot more,
mm,
especially to my ancestors, um, and even sometimes because whether life gets into the way or I get into my way, because there is that possibility, and I don't get the time to sit in front of my altars, uh, but I can still tap in. I can still tap in and I can hear. I have been developing, and it's all ancestrally guided, um, where I am able to work with some people, and I haven't really fully written out anything and have anything planned, and how, even if it's a way of me making income, but you know, I received and I have been giving to others. Over the past 2 days, we went by a friend, learned that she has leukemia, and
mm,
I this I don't know what to call it. I call it uplift intuitively. That's what it's called right now. And it's just me helping the person to scan their body. They are
Mm,
scanning, right? And going through. So with her, it's her lymph nodes that are, are swollen and trapped, whatever it is that is trapped in there. And she said they won't reduce. And I said, well, then you have to be able to do that, and you
mm,
have to be able to use the energy from within. And so in that way, like, I have been able to work with her, one series, but I said,
mm,
because she lives like 3 hours away in Canada,
mhm,
3 hours away driving. And you know, it was great to see the shift in her as well. But I
of
said,
course.
you have to do that now,
Mhm,
right? And so she has to be willing to take time and just scan her body, and take the time where there's the discomfort. So when I'm with her, when I was with her, I can tell her, okay, I can see that you're in pain because I see the shift, like even in her face and everything. What's happening? She would tell
mm,
me, and we will just focus on that part until it releases, and then we keep going, right? So I am willing to step in to say that I am, other than stepping in, identifying myself as a practitioner, I'm stepping in and identifying myself as a wellness practitioner or
of
a healer.
course.
Um,
Mhm,
so, there was hesitancy, and I'm not saying that I go out and blast, because I don't. Um, and there was hesitancy because of insecurity, and also insecurity for self, but not having enough knowledge. And I'm not
mm,
saying that I have a lot of knowledge, but I am willing to work with the knowledge that I have, and I'm open to my continued learning.
of
So,
course.
so that's where I am through African Mysteries.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You stepping into the seat of a healer,
Hmm.
and really honoring your gifts, and utilizing your ancestors not only for your benefit but for the benefit of others in your community. So that's powerful and major right there, that you are doing that, because even someone like myself, who can say have been initiated and trained in certain healing modalities, there are some things that are always going to catch you by surprise, so to speak, if something that you don't feel prepared for. But what I know I have in my tool bag is I have a connection with my ancestors so strong and solid that
Hmm.
there's nothing that can be given to me, thrown at me, that can shake me, in
Hmm.
my foundation that I have. And
Hmm.
I know that if I go to my guides, to my spirits, and to my ancestors in a place of sacred surrender, right? And trusting in myself, that the answer that I need will be provided, that it will come up from within me. And so that's really all I need to know, and all I need to have is that I know I'm connected to something
Hmm.
that's greater than myself, that
Hmm.
will always have the answers, you see.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's a powerful thing to have. That
Hmm.
makes you an unstoppable woman. Okay. You
Hmm.
dangerous now that you walking with that peace.
Hmm.
Um, so before we close out, I just want to ask if you have any final shares or any words of wisdom that you might give to somebody who might find themselves in the same position, right?
Hmm.
The same way of thinking and being that you were in a year
Hmm.
ago. What would you say to them if they were standing at the
Hmm.
crossroads of deciding to join African Mystery School, if you have
Hmm.
anything?
Uh, I think it's the willingness to submit. The
Mm,
willingness to submit. You know, we have, and a lot of us who or believe that we are strong leaders, etc., or we are in the position where we have always been leaders, and you have to actually pause and stop and listen. And it's a scary, it can be a scary position, but you have to be willing to submit.
my
And
gosh.
that is what um, assisted me in shifting,
Mm,
being open and willing to submit, and don't let your ego get in front of you, because we all have egos. We all need egos,
mm-hmm.
especially of those who are in the arts. We have to have egos to be an artist, one. um, but we have to be able to use that ego at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Balance is important, but we have to be willing to submit and listen.
My
So
gosh.
once you can do that, you can step into African Mystery School and be willing to learn, be willing to be guided.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate you, Marcos, taking time to join us today, for sharing your energy and assisting and welcoming in the next cohort of student initiates. So it's exciting to be back in this place. And in a few weeks, we'll have a new group that are starting.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful. Yeah.
Um, if anybody is watching this video and feeling called to join in African Mystery School, please do click the link that you see in this posting and take the leap, take the leap and discover your own inner mysteries, and do what is needed to help grow yourself, to grow your spirit to another level, into a new way of being, and open yourself up to all the many possibilities that spirit has in store for you. Again, my name is Makosi Gogo Atel, the founder and creator of African Mystery School and the Raw Rites of Passage programs. I'm so happy to be here and welcome you in, and I'll see you on the other side. Tokozani, Makos.
Funny.